Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this December meetup of the Content Collective. My name is Ruben. The Content Collective is India's probably the only community for content creators. The idea of this community was started because we felt there was a need to bring content creators together, people who essentially create content for others and not necessarily just for their own creative benefit. So there's a lot of pressures and a lot of challenges that come along with that. We thought a community that sort of shares and learns and grows together would be something good to have. And there's absolutely no fee to join the community, and you can participate by joining one of these meetups or interacting on one of our platforms. We also have a website now. It's called thecontentcollective.com, and we'll share the link during the course of this meetup as well. So thanks everyone for joining, and I will pass this over to Bhumika now, who will give you a little bit of a more introduction to today's session. So over to you, Bhumika.
Thank you, Ruben. So in today's meetup, we have two interesting speakers. Interesting because they have chosen a slightly different career path than the traditional norm. So we have Niharika Jain and Rashvardhan Kataria today, who are trained lawyers, but after graduation, they chose to, they got pulled in towards content and filmmaking. And they've been working in this field for more than 2 years now, 3 years, if I'm correct. So just a little bit of introduction on both of them. Niharika Jain is a industry cred certified brand consultant and communication specialist. She has worked with several MSMEs and global businesses across different areas like tech, hospitality, lifestyle. She's worked as a communications auditor, brand strategist, content writer, and creative partners for the last 3 years. So she's in fact a good friend of mine, and we've also worked together on a couple of projects. So knowing that she hasn't had a formal background in media, but still I've seen the work that she does. It's very thorough and well planned and structured. So I'm personally interested in knowing how she got where she's right now in terms of her work. And coming to our other speaker for today, Rashvardhan Kataria is also a lawyer, and he's worked under different departments. Lawyer turned filmmaker, sorry. So he's worked under different departments as wearing different hats, such as cinematographer, producer, creative director, as well as editor in different kinds of filmmaking projects, like be it social media content to short films, and even music videos. He shot for several brands like Good Earth Paro, OMA Living, Bira, Suchali's Artisan Bakehouse, Fable Street, Fool, PBH Foods, Gin Explorers Club, among others. So welcome Niharika and Rashvardhan, and I am interested in hearing your journey and your experiences, so that we and those who are in a similar crossroads in terms of their career can benefit from your learning and insights. So starting off, I would like you to share a bit about your background and what motivated you to move away from law and towards content and filmmaking. Niharika, would you like to go first?
Sure, Bhumika. So thank you for the introduction. I think you are too kind. So yeah, but like she said, Bhumika and I have worked together as well. So yeah, I know her, and I have worked with her as well. So she knows my journey somewhat, but I'm glad if you want to hear it. So okay, so I, like Bhumika said, I am a lawyer turned marketer. Uh, my journey up till now, it's been 3 years of me working, more than 3 years actually of me working in the industry. And my journey started, if you ask me how the transition happened, I think when I tell this to people, everybody says that it was a, like when I share it, it feels as if it was a thought through and strategic transition. But trust me, it wasn't. It was a very, just grabbing whatever came my way and taking whatever happened and learning whatever I could and just taking the next opportunity. So I think at the start of law school, the reason why I even took, I did BBLLB honors from IPE University. And the reason why I did that, I was from a commerce background. I thought that I'll do a BBLLB honors. Frankly, I wasn't very sure of whether I want to pursue law in the long term or not. But I was a nerd through and through. So I took it up thinking that, okay, even if something doesn't work out, even if I don't go into law, I'll probably do an MBA and I'll be good to go. So, but being a nerd, when I went to law school, I did everything. I scored well. I participated in all the extracurriculars. Turns out I was even good at it. So this is one picture where you see, like, this was my first moot court competition that I participated in with a few of my, it was a team of three. I participated in it, and I won the best team award. And then post that, I won the mock trial. There was a mock trial competition held in law school. I won that as well. So things were going well, but coming to the third year, I felt that I wasn't, like, I saw the people around me in law school, and I felt that I wasn't as passionate about law as my peers were. And as soon as the practical aspect of it started coming, I did a lot of internships, and it felt that I wasn't really interested in it, and my creative flair was sort of dying, or the business creative flair that I had was sort of dying. So turns out that I randomly, in 12th, when I was in 12th, I randomly had this thing where I wanted to pursue journalism, but apparently my parents did not let me pursue journalism. They thought that law was a better option for me. So I think in third year, in third year of my college, I randomly, just prepared a journalism CV and went to the Hindu office in Delhi and just gave my CV and asked them to, give me an internship. I did not think that I will get through, but I did get through, and I received a call the other day. And I think I went on a Friday. I received a call 2 days after, and somebody told me that, okay, you can come. So I think I went there, and I was very afraid, and I was a little skeptical if they'll receive a law student very well. But I worked with the Hindu Metro Plus, and these are some of the pieces that I wrote. One of it was also about YouTube Next Up, which happened that year. So it was a 3-month long internship, and that's how it turned out. So from law, I took the next step to journalism, thought that that's my calling, and I loved it. Then in 2020 COVID came, and there was a lockdown, and suddenly I was at, I hadn't decided up till then if I will actually leave law altogether, but I had the journalism thing in mind. But my editor at the Hindu, suddenly, one day she called me and she said that around the time of COVID, when COVID cases had just started coming up, she just called me randomly and she said that there's this content gig at one of my content writing gig at one of my friends who's starting a company, logistics company. Do you want to take it up? I said, yeah, sure. I did not have any CV, just took my whatever articles that I showed you, took those to the meeting, and I got a freelance gig as a content writer. COVID was going on. I did that. And post that, I think they offered me a job right out of law school. They said they were impressed with my writing. They said, we want to hire you as a content marketer or content manager. I did that. So I was like, okay, fine. I don't have anything else to do. It's COVID. This is something that I am interested in. Journalism is, nobody is anyway hiring in journalism right now. So let me just go for it. So I did that. And I think 2 years post that, I worked in the company, and it was a hyper growth phase for me where I learned everything I could. The picture that you saw was one of the pictures where I was briefing the team about, one of the outdoor shoots that I planned for the company that I was working for, which was Pidge. So I did that for 2 years, but after 2 years, I felt that I used to see all the closed door meetings happening where people were discussing about brand and everything, and I was just the content person. And I sort of got interested in that, and I thought that, I want to understand what is happening behind the closed doors. I want to understand where the content guidelines are actually coming from. So I did that, and yeah, so I left that job. I again thought of different ways to learn that thing. Uh, this randomly one ad came to me the other day about Craftshala, a company which like it's an edtech company which does a lot of courses around brand management and marketing. So I did one of their courses around brand management. Uh, Again, being a nerd, total complete nerd, scored the highest. So got my industry cred certification, and through that, I learned all of the brand management and brand strategy principles, use those to, again, pitch to different people, pitch to different clients. And I think at that time, I also met Ruben, who's the founder of Rato Communications, through LinkedIn, like just a random application that I submitted on a LinkedIn job. And I got through, and I just randomly, I had just completed my course back then, and I asked him that, do you think like I want to get into strategy from content? Do you think I can do this? And he graciously agreed. He said, okay. He asked me a few questions, and he said, yeah, go for it. And we did a few projects together, learned more from him, learned from the team, use that work again, and use whatever I had done up till then to get more work. And now it's been 2 years of me working as an independent marketing consultant. So you see, this year we had an on-site of the Rato Communications team. So that's me with Bhumika, Ruben, and the entire team. Alongside that, there's another restaurant chain in Delhi, which I did a brand consulting project for. So yeah, that's one of the most loved collaterals, which was kept in their restaurant. So just sharing a picture here with you. So yeah, that's my journey. Still working and still figuring out.
Great, great. So, Rashvardhan, what about you?
Yeah.
What made you move away from law? Was it something similar to what Niharika faced?
Um,
And
it was
and
kind of
why?
along the lines. It was kind of along the lines. I was always a bad law student. Like I was never good. I never attended classes in like the first 2 years. I did everything in college but attend classes. At least in the first year, like I just wanted to go see what's happening everywhere. So classes were like the last on my priority list. I went, like I met random people. They met, like they were going for conferences. I didn't know what the conference was about, but I was like, oh, why not? Like, something interesting, why not go see what's happening? Yeah, that's how I started law school, like not by not going to classes. So like it was never something that I was very always like, oh my God, I want to be a lawyer. I want like law was never something that was like a life goal from like childhood of mine. But the idea when I joined law school, the idea was to like create some sort of social change, some sort like I felt like um, there's so much unjust, like there were so many clear issues like we see with the law in society, and we see people around us, or like most people who don't like who disagree with that law, but nobody is doing anything about it. So I was like, oh, why not? I will do it. Um, but in law school, like that was that was that was a part of me, but like that got crushed in law school by like the fourth year, fifth year. Some things happened where I realized it's not going to happen like this. I was like, we were taught like a reading in one of the subjects, like a jurisprudence, which is sort of legal theory and how legal principles come into being. Um, there was a reading by some Indian scholar who talked about
if you want to make social change, like the last thing you should do is become a lawyer. And like that sort of stayed with me. And I was kind of pissed off in the beginning because I was like, why didn't you give this in the first year? I would have like left law school. Why did I spend 4 years after like, and after that, I'm like, oh shit, like what I want to do with this education is like nobody says that this is possible with this education. Um, so yeah, that's when I started sort of distancing myself from law and trying to figure out what to do next. And I had a camera. I thought, why not take pictures? It was fun to do. And we were like, I was in Sonipat for law school, so like it was fields, nothing outside the campus. So there was nowhere to go, nothing to like kill time. So I thought, why not start taking pictures? And in 2019, a friend and I did like a short documentary for a competition. There's a new company had come up, and they were trying to promote themselves. So they did like a mobile phone documentary competition, which is like a 3-minute thing. And my friend and I just randomly submitted to it. It wasn't a good movie by any means, but we just decided to submit. And that's where sort of my journey outside of law began, where like I started distancing myself and started to look outside of like I had that decision that, oh, okay, like I don't want to do law now. Like what next? What can I do? And then COVID happened. COVID happened literally in my last semester. So I had nothing to do but to stay at home. And when I was at home, there was nobody was hiring lawyers. So like that was one good thing where my parents couldn't say, "Oh, why don't you go out and try to get a job as a lawyer?" Nobody's hiring. Like people who got on-campus placements, their placements were kept on hold until like October, November. So it was great. Like for me, I was at home. I started doing like random photos, and that eventually led to like I saw some small influencer on Instagram who runs like an agency, content agency in Delhi. She posted about like hiring interns in August. And I thought, why not? I saw her profile, I saw her company's profile. So like I realized that they do mostly F&B brands. And I thought, okay, like those photos look nice. Why don't I recreate something like that at home? I took Maggie and like made it into like a ramen bowl, which looked pretty fake, but like it kind of worked. So that's I built that CV. I took some pictures, I sent it to the agency, and they hired me for an internship for a 2-month internship in the middle of 2020, which was great. Like that's where I was sort of like entering the industry. And so I don't know if people know this, but in the legal field, you have to do minimum 5 internships to become a lawyer. That's like a requirement by the Bar Council. And it is expected that you have to work for free. Most people do 10 internships in like 10 semesters, but it's expected that you have to work for free. And for this internship, I was getting paid peanuts, but I was getting paid. And that was like coming from a place where everybody expects you to just work for free all the time and somebody's paying you without even like talking to you. It's great. It was amazing for me. It was so exciting. And that sort of led me into doing um like working with brands, all like Good Earth and Oma Living, all these were introduced to me because of my internship. And then I started doing freelance for a little bit. Um, and that led to giving me some time to think what specific genre of content I want to go into. There's so much content right now, especially after COVID, like so much has increased that I wanted to select my niche before I like go everywhere. Um, that I thought, why not do a film? Like there was another film competition. It was like a 3-minute. There was like a 3-minute upper limit to that competition, which I really liked because like it's 3 minutes, so nobody can make like a beautiful blockbuster 1.5 hour movie, and then I'm making like a 1 minute documentary or something. So like it was like a sort of a level playing field. And that's when I worked with Niharika on the film. She was one of the actors. And even though it wasn't like a great film, it was something that we did together. It was something that was different from what I had been doing so far. And I enjoyed doing it. Um, that led to me meeting um, another person. So I have two friends who did law with me, but started as rappers after law school. So I went to shoot one of their gigs, and I met another person who was shooting for the event. And through that person, I got like a full-time job in fashion for like 3 months. And I wouldn't have had that job if I hadn't met him. So that was another like new niche for me to try out and see how I feel about it. That led to me going to film school after doing that job for like whatever the contract was. And that's where when I went to film school, I wanted like a formal sort of training to understand the theory of the experiences I had been getting. Like I knew what was happening, but I didn't know why it was happening in that way. So like that was like a formal education is a nice way to learn that quickly, the why of certain things that happen. And that made me sort of now completely move into the film industry as opposed to creating different content for like F&B or fashion. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
Bhumika.
I think you're on mute, Bhumika.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, I think COVID helped to some extent to make the transition easy for both of
Oh
you.
yeah.
Now, I think RB, you mentioned your parents couldn't say anything because lawyers were not being hired at the time.
Right.
So, but other than that, did you have any? But when you say that you're leaving law for good and choosing this as your what do you normally call side projects as your mainstream career, how was the reaction? How was the reactions of those around you? Because at that time, when you're making a transition, that impacts your um, decision a lot. So, how did
Oh
you
yeah.
manage that?
Okay, so there was two things. When I joined law school, my parents knew, however naive that idea was, I still wanted to do like social change. Like I wanted to do something that affected other people in a positive manner. And my parents knew that. So they understood that law was like a stepping stone towards that. And once I realized that that is not a nice stepping stone towards what I want to do, my parents understood that. They wanted to be supportive, but they were also scared that, oh my God, what is our child going to do? This is not something that a human being does for like sustenance. So they would always like like every alternate day we'd have dinner or something, and my dad would be like, "Oh, I saw this guy is hiring this. Do you want to like go intern here? What do you think about this firm? Like, do you think it's nice? Like, what kind of work do you like? Do you want to do like IP law? Do you want to do criminal law? What have you thought about it? Why don't you give it a shot? See how it goes, you know?" So like they kept nudging me for like a year until they saw that I can make a sustainable living off of it. That was like the switch. It was literally a switch flip. I was going in for the interview. This is February of 2022. I'm going in for the interview. I told my dad, okay, this is what I'm going to ask for. Like this is the amount I'm going to ask for per annum. My dad's like, no, 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 this is way too much. Ask for half. I don't think they will give you this. I was like, okay, we'll see. But I didn't ask for half. I asked for my amount. And they ended up giving it to me. And like it took him almost like a week to accept that it's real. Like he had to wait for the contract to come in and like see that, okay, like yeah, yeah, it's legit. Like they just didn't like fuck around with me. They were like, okay, cool, like it's a legit job, great. That's when my parents sort of like took a back seat with the law job offers. They were like, okay, cool, like this is something that you can do, fair enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So, Niharika, what about you? Was it? I remember having a similar conversation with you before that your parents, I'm not sure what exactly went there, but how was your parents' reaction when you said you wanted to do it? Did they also, I mean, what stage did they get convinced? Was it after they saw that you had a stable income, or how was it?
So I think for me it was very from the start only my parents knew, because when I joined my law school, when I actually thought of pursuing law, at that time also my parents said that, just do it, and if you don't like it then you can always go for an MBA. And during the law school, I think you get, I like Rashtravan mentioned, we had to do a lot of internships. I did all of those internships, and all of the internships that I did were through contacts and everything. So all the lawyers that my parents knew, my father knew, I interned with them. I interned with like whatever contacts, and everybody told them that don't let your uh, don't let your daughter go for practice or litigation, or like ask her to go for judiciary, or ask her to try for UPSC, which is the parents favorite. So I think throughout the law school my parents nudged me towards, you should go for judiciary, you should go for like your, they saw that not to hai hamara bachcha, पढ़ तो लेगा ही. So they were like, हाँ ठीक है, go for judiciary, go for UPSC. And I think even now, my parents, like even now, it's been 3 years of me working, and even now they're like, ठीक है, you haven't done judiciary, you haven't done IAS and all of that, but now you have to go for your MBA. Like, that's the benchmark that they have, that our daughter should at least, like even now they're not completely satisfied. They're like, no, go for your MBA before you do anything. After that you want to do anything, go for it. So yeah, that's still a struggle.
Okay.
That's fair.
So,
I can see that. That struggle comes in, it comes in and goes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a constant process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
you said,
over time you get used to it, and you're like, yeah, mom, chill, I'll do it.
okay. So you said you interned with the connections of your family when you were interning as a lawyer, looking for internship as a lawyer. But when you moved to the space, content marketing and branding, I'm guessing you wouldn't have that much network present. So you had to build everything from scratch, whether
Yeah.
it's to get new clients, whether it's to just ask about your work, like say peers, colleagues, or anything. So how did you and you freelanced for quite a bit. So how did you go about building your network
Yeah,
from
so
scratch?
I think for me that was the biggest kick that I got. Like throughout 5 years, it was only my parents' contacts which got me whatever internships I got. But it was like the Hindu internship that I spoke of, the journalism internship. That was the first internship that I got on my own. Like I just went and got it on my own. So I think that was the first kick that I got. Like, I don't need connections. Like I can do it myself. I think I'm good at it. So I think that was one thing. And post that, I think what I did was I just so wherever I went, I just had two things in mind, that I will just be sincere, and I will befriend whoever is the senior, or whoever is like if I went for journalism, then at Hindu, my editors, I asked them a lot of questions, and people are very open to sharing. Everybody wants to share their journeys. Okay, so people are very open to sharing information with you, sharing what they do with you, and making you learn. It's just that they need to see that you're sincere enough and you want to learn, and you're just not doing like time pass with them. So I think through that, like I built that connection at the Hindu with the editor. I think I must have done something right. That's why she sort of referred me to another friend. And after that, I think one thing that I also used in terms of freelancing was that uh, I try to give a lot of free advice to the people around me. So I think that if somebody has to do something and they should do something in terms of their marketing, but they're not doing it, so I generally like just share my opinion, share my advice, and for free. And if they like it, I mean 2 months, 3 months down the lane, they're very happy to call me when they've made up their mind that okay, we want your service. So I think, yeah, it's a mix of two things: just asking a lot of questions, being sincere, and also just putting yourself out there, sharing free advice. So yeah, I think that has worked for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rashwardan, what about you? Do you
I
have a
had very,
how did you go about building your network in filmmaking?
yeah, I had a very similar experience actually. So I never focused myself in the beginning with B2C. Like I never wanted to deal with the client. I still don't want to. Like I would rather have somebody else deal with it and like I do the work with them. So I focused more on creating a network, not with the client, but with like other content creators, other people in the space. And so I like when I started, there was nobody teaching me anything except YouTube. Like YouTube was my go-to source for like information. And once I started working, I would Google like some key, like if I hear some keyword and I don't know like what that means or what it is, I would just like slyly Google it on my phone and just, like just read the definition and leave it be, like search for it later or something. But if I didn't know, like I would go ask somebody a little bit about it. It didn't happen all the time. Like I never had the confidence to just always go up and ask somebody, oh, like what does this mean? Or like go up and talk to everyone. But like there was a lot of times I did it, and people are always interested in like talking about themselves and like talking about their journey. And if you actually ask them like an insightful question, if you're interested in the subject and you have like a doubt, and if you ask somebody, the worst case they'll say is, oh, I don't know, maybe we can look for it together, which is like a best worst case. Like it's a great worst case scenario. So that was a very nice like a jump off point, and I didn't say no. Like I wanted to explore. So for example, when like my friends they called me because they were doing like a live performance. They were singing at like a concert and they thought they wanted like somebody to record it, somebody to shoot, like so they have something to post on their social media. And that gave me like an insight of how event photography works. When I did like food and beverage, I learned how food and beverage is different from like fashion. I even did like a wedding in the middle of COVID. And like it was the most beautiful wedding shoot, like from my perspective, because it was like 5 people, it was 4 hours, it was great. And so like doing like different genres, meeting different people who are like experts in those genres and talking to them is, I think that's the only way to do it. That's the only way I did it. That's the only way I could understand to do it because that's how I got work. Like if I talk to like 3 people, they have other projects coming up and everybody always needs help. Like nobody can be a one-man army to do everything. That's just impossible, like for any human being after a point. So everybody needs help. If they like you, they trust you, they'll do it. Like everything after a point comes to like trust. It's sort of like a cultish situation. I have mixed feelings about it, where you can be taught certain skills. You can be taught, oh, like these are like 5 angles and you have to take pictures from 5 angles. But you can't be taught trust, or you can't like you have to build it, you have to earn it. And like if I tell somebody, oh, I have a shoot, can you come? They say, oh yeah, yeah, but they never show up. That's a big problem because they won't show up on the day off, and I don't have any replacements like when the job is supposed to be done. So that creates an issue. So building that trust, I feel like, is the most important thing in building the network. It's a slow and hard process, but it's something you have to do.
Yeah, so both of you were not really focused on building a network as such, but having authentic, honest interactions with people and just being transparent in
Yeah, yeah.
what you're,
I feel
where
like
you are.
I feel like when somebody comes, at least like if somebody comes up to me and starts talking very like business minded very quickly, I'm like, we don't know each other that well enough to be like, oh, let's work together. Like, we don't know if we vibe, if we have the same mindset. We can't really work on like content or like most jobs are high pressure situations where like when it's a shoot happening, it's very limited. Whatever the shoot may be, it's always low on time. Like everybody always needs more time. So it's always a high pressure situation. And if you can't be civil in a high pressure situation, I don't think you're a good person to work with because you ruin the experience for other people also, not just yourself.
Hmm, interesting insight.
Mm.
So you mentioned like coming. So here, once you entered into this field, and you realize there are some skills that you can work on, you went through whether it's YouTube or certification course or a formal training to bridge that gap. But I'm sure your training in law did not go all waste, even if you didn't practice law. So there would be some things that you learned there, which sort of you could apply it here. So if you had to say sum it up in maybe three things that you learned there that helped you here, that gave you an extra edge here, what would, I mean? Firstly, if I would ask if there are any. If there are, then what are they?
I believe everybody should have basic legal knowledge. Like, not 5 years of legal training, but at least 1 year of understanding what the basics and fundamentals of law are and what they do to every day, like to our lives every day. Law is scary. Like it's shown in the media to be scary. It's shown to be something very complicated, very twisted. Only like geniuses can understand it or like crack it. It's really not. It's really not. Like a lot of our laws are from like the British era. Like like they're 100 years old. Like we have more knowledge than somebody who was like living 100 years ago, right? So it's not that difficult to understand. It's just it's kept away, and there's like a reputation that's created around it, which sound makes it scary. It's always about like life and death, people going to jail, their faces are hidden. It's like the handcuffed police, like reporters jumping on. Like we see these images all the time, and like having like this knowledge, like going through law school and reading about these cases, about the judgments, about what actually happened, removes that sort of fear of like, what can you do? Like, what can somebody do to me? Like, somebody can send me to jail. Like, if I get a contract, everybody gets so serious. Oh my God, like, this is a contract. It's legal. I don't know what to do with it. What should I do? Read it. Like, it's as simple. Like, read it. Like, it's English. You'll understand. It's a language. But like that myth, that scary nightmare that law is supposed to be, it's created to be, it's really not. But and you don't know that until you go through it. So having that sort of knowledge gave like a very big assurance of like, I can't go to jail, nobody can sue me, my nights can't be ruined by thinking about, oh my God, what is going to happen with this contract or like with this job. Nobody can swindle me out of money. Like nobody can say that, oh, I'll pay you like a month later, 2 months later, and the money never comes. I know people who worked and like who did like full-time jobs as graphic designers, as content creators. They didn't get paid. Like their companies fought with them. They never paid them. And like huge amounts. And like when somebody sees on your like CV that, oh, like law, okay, like that also gives them like a little, okay, like let's not fuck with like a lawyer. Because even if I am a bad lawyer, I know some people who are good lawyers. So it won't be expensive for me to file a lawsuit against them, even if I know I won't. Like they don't know that.
So the
So
legal background helps. I mean, gives kind of a signal that don't mess
yeah,
with. us.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's a big thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, Erika, what about you? Because I remember having this discussion with Ruben, and he said she has done law, so she can process more information, so she can deal with an
Yeah.
overload of information. And I've seen that to some extent. You don't lose structure when you consume a lot of information. So apart from that, or if you want to add on to it, what are the things that you feel
Yeah.
that you learned in your legal training that has helped you here in your approach to work or in your in content and branding?
So I think I completely agree with what RV has said. And I think more than the self-assurance, I think the attitude, like in especially in content and marketing space, I think it's so unorganized and everybody is
That's true.
almost everybody I know is sort of trying to do something around content, something around marketing. So it's such it has become such an unorganized space right now. And like RB said, like self assurance and the way people look at you and the attitude of people towards you, I think changes. The way they speak to you, the way they demand work from you, that also changes. So I think that's one thing. Totally agree with it. But I think in marketing and in content, there are a few things which have specifically helped me per se, apart from like some specific things, which is IPR, for example.
Mm.
So when I worked as a content manager, I remember we did a brand book, and whenever we used to do like create some content, I remember there was always this discussion that okay, we need to get this copyrighted, or we need what is the IPR situation in this, how should we go about it. So I think the founder and my even the marketing head, they relied on me even before going to the legal head. So they said, okay, Niharika, you're working on it, just check out the legal position of it as well. So even when I was working even when I was giving information to the PR manager, even when I was creating content, I knew what can be the legal implications of saying something, putting something out there, getting something copyrighted. So I think my seniors they relied on me along with the content thing. So I think that helped. That was a plus. Apart from that, I think even in my journalism stint, everybody said to me that people who come from a basic BJMC background, or any other like media training, they just know like this is something that my editor told me. She said that people just know the formats, the softwares that we use, or the tools that we use, or how things work in a newsroom or in a media space, but that keeps changing. So we need people who come from different backgrounds. So for example, somebody who's coming from a psychology background, we need that person in a journalism space to sort of cover a story which is around a person's psychology, or even like say a murderer's psychology. We need that person will be better equipped to handle that. So I think that played for me also. My editor always kept asking me do something around law also, like do some space around law and media, so all of that. Now how it helps me is I can create my own contracts. When I work with people, I don't usually in this space, in the content space, nobody focuses a lot on contracts, but I do. I make people sign, like whoever I work with, I make them sign NDAs. Even when some of my client does not send me a contract, I'm almost always particular about you sign this contract, send it to me, and then only I'll start working. So that's one thing. And when it comes to brand consulting, sometimes, so like I work with a lot of startups. So I think recently there was this startup that I was working with. It was a So basically, it was a restaurant chain which had a lot of franchisee partners, and they had to incur some. I created some marketing plan, and the partner sort of disagreed to invest in or give that much, incur that expense of marketing. So had I not have like if I did not have the law background, I would have been like, okay, fine, founders, please handle. But then because of my law background, I was very quick to ask them for the contract, like the franchisee agreement or whatever. I asked them for it. I checked out the clauses. There was a clause mentioned which said that partners have to incur whatever marketing expense, and they have agreed, they had signed the contract. So yeah, I think that advice I could also give along with the marketing plan to my clients. So I think that also gives me an extra edge over somebody who can just do marketing. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I had an experience where I got a contract, but it was like very badly formatted and like there was grammatical errors in the contract. And like the lawyer inside me came out, I like fixed that contract for no reason at all. Like I fixed it and then sent it back. I was like, no, no, this is not how contracts work. Just so random.
Interesting. So that you told us about the plus points of having a legal background, how that translated here, but not having a media background, or not, or having a law a background that's different from what the career that you've chosen. Were there any experiences or negative experiences on that, in terms of maybe people judge you, I mean, see that you don't have the expertise or skills required for that kind of role or anything like that? Did you have any such experience?
I think I had one experience. I think throughout my journey up till now, I've just had one experience where I did not get a project. Like some senior told me that I cannot get this, or I'm not equipped to do this because I come from a law background and I do not have any formal training. But then when I remember speaking about this to a lot of people who are marketing experts or who are experts in the industry, and I remember like a very heartbroken girl. I told them that this has happened to me, and do you think it really matters? And all of them told me that whoever is telling you, whoever is like, you have worked in the past in this, like for marketing I can say this, that everybody tells me that it's your experience that counts. For content, it's your experience, whatever work you've done, that counts. And if somebody is telling you that because of, even after you being in the industry and doing good work for 3 years, even if somebody is denying you something just because you don't have a formal training, just because you come from a law background, then don't work for that person. It's you who should be choosing not to work for that person, because that person themselves is not creative enough, or like open minded enough. So yeah, I think I stick to that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think this field is such that you don't really look at your um, uh, like your work speaks for yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. I had a
Hmm.
very opposite experience because most of the people I met were not from like a journalism or media background. Everybody had done like engineering, history, law, something, and then they changed, switched um, industries and come to like shooting content.
Hmm. So I think as we come to the final question, what I would like to ask is, what advice or suggestion would you give to someone who's planning to shift from their current this thing, whether it's recent graduates or students, or people who have worked for say 2 3 years and now want to shift their careers, because it's a huge choice, big decision. So what advice or things to look out for or keep in mind? What do you have to say about that?
Um, can I go first?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. I have I have this idea that I had to teach myself, and I still have to teach myself like over and over. But this idea of like opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is I don't know if you know this. It's an economic term that says that what's like the next best thing, like if you can't get number one, what is the cost of getting number two? Like if you can't get Lay's, what is the cost of getting like bigger? Like if you can afford, what can you afford, right? So the idea is that you're sitting at home, you're not getting paid, you're not doing something that you want to do. Or not even that, like something that you know that you don't want to do X, but you don't know if you want to do like A, B, X, Y, Z, whatever. And somebody's offering you something different to do. And I don't know, maybe they're paying you, maybe they're not. But you're sitting at home. Unless you're like doing something towards achieving something that you want to, why not go try it? Like, what's the harm? Somebody's paying you 5 grand, you think, no, 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 this is worth 10 grand. But right now you're getting zero. Might as well get the five. Maybe like another opportunity will come through that gig or through meeting those people that will give you 10 or 20. Who knows? Right? What's the harm?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I think I also agree with it. And I think I would say just that even if, like, when I started, I did not have any portfolio. I did not have a lot of work that I could present. I just used whatever work, like, even if I had just 3 articles, I used that to showcase as a sample to get another gig. And whatever, even if I just had one job, I presented that work as sample to get another job. So I think just keep trying. Like, this one of my mentors in the Kraftshala brand management course that I did told me that whichever door is the closest to you, get in that first. Try to get in that first. Don't think of the ideal situation that you want to be in, because if you think of the ideal situation, then you will be in a freeze mode throughout. So if you think that, even if, like RV said, that even if your ideal situation is a 10K job, but if you think that getting a 2K job is easy for me because of maybe contacts or some work that I've done, or something that I can easily get, and these people will hire somebody of my caliber or my experience, just get that. Don't think that, oh, this is not my ideal situation to be in, or anything. Just whatever is in front of you, whichever door is the easiest to get in, try to get in that first, and you'll just figure out things. And for marketing people, I think I would say that when it was my first job, I remember going with the mindset that, I remember telling this to the marketing head of the company at that time, that I'm thinking of doing some digital marketing courses, thinking that I will impress him, that I'm looking to go for formal education. And I remember him telling me that, don't go for it. He strictly denied. He said, don't go for it. For in content, whatever you learn on the job. First, get exposure in the content space, and then if you feel like it, then you figure out where you want to, like, master and get your formal training. But right now, don't fall for these digital marketing courses and all of these traps, at least when you're starting out. Focus on whatever you're learning on the job.
Right. I think Neha had her hands raised virtually. So Neha, do you have a question that you want to ask?
Yes, I have put questions in the chat box. Bhumika, can you please read that? Thank you.
I can't
Sure.
hear her.
She
Just a
said she
second.
put something in the chat box.
Yeah. So yeah, Neha's question is how writing content is different than the role and work of a content manager, if any.
So I think, Neha, when you're a content writer, you're just writing content. Whether it depends on where you get hired, if it's an agency or if it's a startup, I think your writing content can be for any space, like social media or PR or blogs or whatever. But when you're a content manager, especially in a startup, you're supposed to do, like, when I was a content manager, everything in the company which required anything to be written or anything to be sent out went through me. So whether it was even a quote that was to be sent to the PR agency, that went through me. Blogs went through me. Obviously, as a content manager, you have some support. So, yeah, so I had the support of, say, like an online reputation manager or a designer or some freelance writers who helped me. But apart from that, I used to do everything myself. Like, you have to do shoots also, you're supposed to ideate videos, you're supposed to I also managed the performance marketing agency that we had hired, the PR agency that we had hired. So I think all of this management thing does not come in the role of a content writer per se. So yeah, that's how it's different.
Okay. I think she has one more question. How can one get hold or practice the strategy part of content marketing?
Okay, so I think there are a lot of, just if you go to as basic as HubSpot, okay, so just try to figure out, like, if you type content strategy HubSpot, you'll get a lot of articles, both of HubSpot and other uh, companies, other marketing gurus as well. And you will see how, they're trying to create briefs, they're trying to create content pillars, they're trying to figure out, they're using different frameworks. Every strategist uses different frameworks to figure out what content strategy should we put out. So I think what you can do is just go through a lot of articles, watch a lot of videos around content strategy, whichever framework suits best to you, take that up and try to create your own content strategies for any brand that you like. Just go to like a Paytm social media and just see that, okay, I think that these are the content pillars that they're using, this is their big idea, this is what they're trying to do, and try to match it with the framework that you've learned, and then take another brand and create a content strategy, practice it for another brand. So I think that's how you develop it. I mean,
Thank you,
that's what
Niharika.
I
That
did.
answered. Yes, thank you. Thank you. It answered the question.
Neha, I can't hear you.
Yeah, Neha, just thank you for
Okay.
addressing the question. So we have maybe we can take up 5 more minutes addressing any other questions if we have. So does anyone have anything to ask?
Hi, Ruben here. I have a question for both of you, Niharika and Rashtravardan. I mean, coming from a slightly different world. Okay, I'm just going to turn my camera off. Yeah, it's coming from a different world. I mean, law is a totally different world from what one learns in, say, journalism school or film school, as you are now exposed to, Rashtravardan. So, do you feel like an outsider? Do you feel different? Do you feel like, अरे मुझे और कुछ, I mean, nobody's accepting me, like how they see कि outsider आया है और हमारे दुनिया में they're trying to make a mark. Do you feel that way?
Oh yeah. It wasn't that nobody was accepting me. People were very accepting. People were way too accepting of not just me, but everything. Like it was something very new for me that law school there was something right and something wrong. But like in film school, it's all about perspective. Like you can choose to tell
Yeah, I
something
think
in a certain way. Go for it.
I think now I don't feel, if you ask me now, I don't feel that way. Like after 3 years, I don't feel that way. But there was a time when I used to feel that way. Like maybe like starting out 6 months, 1 year, I used to feel that way. But as I, worked in the industry and understood how the industry works, so I think now I don't feel that way. And also, once you know, the course that I did, and I understood that there a lot of people in the industry also told me that there are certain things which are very common. The concepts are common, but there are jargons that are
Yeah.
used. So if you know everybody is using jargons, okay, so if you know the jargons, then you will be good to go. So just a small example. So recently I was talking to one of the clients, and he told me, yeah, we need to figure out a hack to reduce the cat in this, for this idea. So he could have simply said that, what is the how to figure, or how to reduce the customer acquisition cost, or how to figure out to acquire new customers and all of that. That's easier to understand, right, for a layman. But he used a jargon. So I think when I learned the jargons, very like after working for 1 year, I realized that I need to learn these jargons if I need to stop feeling like an outsider. I did exactly that, and now when I know the jargons, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, let me tell you that the jargon will keep. I mean, I still don't understand a lot of it, so I keep asking, what is this new? Every almost every couple of months, a new term comes up, and that's just how this industry is. So, I mean, great that you guys are looking to learn that. So, thank you. I think that was a great, answer.
Thank you.
If you have any, I mean, we can still take up one more questions if you have. But if not, you can also put it up on our website forum. I'm just sharing the link in the chat box. So if you need any kind of help, or if you want to reach out to Niharika or Rashtravardan, you can do that. You can drop an email to, I'll share the email address too. So we can help you in any way that we can. So thank you, Niharika and Rashtravardan, for this meetup, for sharing your experience and showing us what the transition actually looks like. It's not at all. It's not as bad as people think. It's not as daunting as people think, but it's also not that easy either. So thank you for sharing that perspective, and thank you for reminding us that if you go with an open mind and just look at one day at a time, just look at the next step, the next closest thing you can do towards what you want to do and where you want to be, it's possible. So thank you for reminding us that. And yeah, thank you everyone for choosing to spend this 1 hour with us on a weekday. And yeah, see you at the next meetup. Stay tuned on our channel.